Welcome to the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast, bringing you the country's top podcast on the subject of internet marketing. I'm your host, Glenn Thayer, and today we have with us on the program the co-founder and CEO of Intuitive Websites, Thomas Young. Tom, why should a company do an internet marketing plan?
Well, it's just good business planning. In fact, anytime that you're running your business and thinking about operations, planning becomes central to that. And we all know that great businesses have great business plans. They have good marketing plans and sales plans, and an internet marketing plan is just a component of that. You almost have to think of it as like the floor plans or the architecture of a house or a building. Anyone who's going to go in and construct a house or any kind of structure is going to first do the proper planning, which includes floor plans and all of the different specs for bringing this project together. That's what you need to do on the internet. Now, if you don't do this for your internet marketing plan, you do a lot of things that can cause problems for the users. And in fact, we like to think that if without proper planning, a lot of things can go wrong and the user doesn't get what they want on your website. Website design and the whole idea of managing a website project is quite a task, especially for larger companies or even middle-sized companies. And if this project isn't planned properly to start or to launch, things can really become a mess. One of the key things you want to do in this plan is make sure that it's aligned also with your current marketing and business plan. In fact, it should be a supplement to your overall business strategy. So just keep in mind, people want to see results from your website when they're on your business website, and the right strategy and the right planning will get them those results.
So when a company starts to begin work on their internet marketing plan, what components should they include?
Well, we've outlined 8 components here that I want to run through, and in fact, you may want to take notes if you're listening, because this really is the start of a table of contents for your internet marketing plan. The first section that you want to look at is basically outlining the strategy of the site. And it answers the question, why do we even have a website and what do we want to see from it? Do we want to get leads? Do we want to do branding? Are we looking to sell directly online? And if so, what are we going to do that's different, and what is our strategy that we're carving out? Because in today's environment, most companies have a lot of competition, and that's going to be critical. So the first section then is outlining your strategy for your website. The second part of your internet marketing plan is doing research. And the market research really needs to be done to answer the assumptions you're making in your strategy. So your strategy says, well, we think we can use our site to develop leads, and this is how we're going to do it. Well, the market research then will go out and find out if that's actually going to work. Some of the things that you need to do in market research are evaluate your competition, see what others are doing online, talk to your customers through surveys and other ways, and get their feedback and find out what's important to them. So that's the second area. The third area is really looking at the reason that people come to a website and what they're looking to find. So this is taking the results of that market research and outlining more or less your findings. And then once again, those findings need to then support your first area, which is the strategy of the site. The fourth element is what most people focus on, and this is number 4 for us. It's important, but you've got to do the first 3 first. The fourth area is actually reviewing the design and technical elements of the site. And a lot of companies make the mistake of starting with the fourth area, and they really shouldn't. But number 4 then looks at what's the site going to look like and what technical elements need to be included. The fifth area is more concerned with the look of the homepage, the type of content, the navigation on the website or a site map that outlines navigation, and then ideas to make the site interactive. So in number 5, we really get more into the core of this website, what it's going to look like. The sixth area switches gears a little bit. Now we're going to look at how to drive traffic and understanding all the different ways to drive traffic into the website. The seventh area then will outline specifically how that traffic is driven through search engines, emails, advertising, blogs, portals, links, and anything else that drives traffic in. And then the final area is an integration of your offline marketing with your online marketing. So what do you do offline that drives people into the website, and what's the call to action once they get in there? So these are really the components of a strong internet marketing plan.
Tom, you mentioned about researching the competition. Now, should somebody be doing everything their competition's doing online?
Well, that's a good question. When you think about researching the competition, it's real interesting just to know that everything you want to see is out there. It's on the web. So go and take a look for sure. What we like you to look at and think about is best practices. And then, of course, you have to think about, well, what's it going to cost to do that? But look and see what your competitors are doing that really seems to be working on the web, and take the best ideas you can and apply them to your strategy. Given your budget and given the resources you have, available to you to make that happen. But it's a tricky thing when you look at competitors because it's you obviously want to have your own niche and do it your way. So I would suggest if there's any way to take those great ideas and enhance them, personalize them, make them yours, then you're on the way to having a winning website.
I mean, just because a competitor has a blog on their website, does that mean you should have a blog on yours?
Well, not necessarily. You want to know that you've got the kind of content that's suitable for a blog, and that you have the customers that will come and want to read that.
Now, who in the company should be responsible for designing the internet marketing plan?
Well, this is a real interesting thing that's happening in today's environment because, as far as I know, I haven't seen universities or colleges teaching internet marketing per se. Most of what happens, you learn by the seat of your pants. And so, what we like to recommend is that someone in the company needs to be assigned the responsibility to being an internet marketing manager or internet project manager, whatever title you want to give them. And these people need to go out and learn what needs to happen to develop an internet marketing plan. It's really difficult for the CEO or the business leader to expect someone to just come in and pick this up and just do it based on their experience or schooling. So, we offer resources to help you at intuitivewebsites.com. There are a lot of resources on the internet, such as this podcast, that can help people learn how to do that. Someone in the company, and probably someone in marketing, needs to step up and be willing and able to be the web marketing expert in that business. They need to work closely with key marketing staff. They need to do the things that we talked about earlier as far as getting to know the users, coordinating with design and with information technology to make things happen.
Tom, how should a company go about hiring or assigning this position? Or is this something that should be outsourced?
Great question, and it's actually not an easy thing to do. And I think the listeners of this podcast need to understand that there's no quick fix to this. There are two things that this person needs to have that needs to be just part of their psyche and who they are, and you have to be able to evaluate this as a manager. The first thing is they have to be able to learn because this is a constantly changing environment. The internet literally changes overnight as big search engines make moves and different things happen. So they have to be able to learn and stay on top of it. There's a lot of great resources for doing that. And we're going to list in this podcast a few great resources for you. If you subscribe to these newsletters that come out, you'll stay on top. The second skill that they need is the flexibility to think like a scientist and act like an artist. And let me explain that a little bit. When you're on the web, you're combining two very different disciplines. You're combining a discipline of technology and mechanics and logic, and a discipline of creativity and understanding users and how they operate and how people function on the web. So this is really what you're looking for when you either hire someone or assign them the task of being responsible for implementing an internet marketing plan. Now, the second thing you mentioned was outsourcing. And outsourcing is definitely an option for you, and you need to evaluate if that's the best way to go. If you do outsource, make sure you look for a company that is first a marketing firm that leads and sets the direction for technology and design people. If you are moving to outsource technology or design work, that's fine. But if you do that, you're going to need this person that I just talked about to manage that or outsource them because they are designers and technology people and they're going to need that direction.
Which type of company would be ideal for outsourcing? For all of our listeners here, can you tell us what the benefits are of actually sitting down and doing an internet marketing plan?
Well, the number one benefit is it's going to save you so much time and money in the long run. And you really have to trust me on this because we've seen it having worked in this field now for close to 7 years. If you don't plan up front, you run into crazy nightmares on the back end that could involve dozens of people running around trying to figure out what's going on. So it saves a lot of time and it saves money in the long term. Also, it just makes sense to put ideas down on paper and solidify them before you start moving resources forward. It's very easy when you do internet planning to sit down in a meeting and say, well, this sounds like a good idea, let's do it. But really, you need to do the research, get it down in paper, and put it down as a plan before you start moving forward. Hard data and facts from research and from your web logs and web statistics can help point you in the right direction as well. You need to review those things so that you can get the best benefit. So the bottom line really is that you want to have the right vision. You want to have the right mission for your web marketing efforts. And the Internet Marketing Plan then sets the direction for this. And if you do it properly, you'll see great return.
Now, since we're talking about outsourcing, there's several different companies. You have Fortune 500 companies that have thousands of people on staff. Obviously, they have internal marketing staff that can handle the internet marketing plans. However, how do you deal with small businesses that maybe have 100 employees, or even mom and pop shops that may have 2 to 5 employees? How do they handle outsourcing, or how should they handle outsourcing? Should it be something they should be doing themselves, or should they be looking elsewhere?
That's a good question. Businesses have different needs, and our thought is that whether you're a company with 100,000 employees or with 10 employees, there are still things you can do and benefit from in the outsourcing areas. In fact, we've worked with companies that are $100 million companies and companies that are much smaller than that. The larger companies are going to use outsourced folks more in niche areas, more for smaller tasks or very specific tasks where they don't have the resources.
What would those be? What would be some examples of that?
Well, like user testing or market research or a very specific search engine strategy. They might lean toward having someone in the outsourcing, someone do that who's been outsourced. Now, larger companies, though, can always benefit from having an outside firm look at their business model and look at their website because they're usually too close to the process, and the political stuff that happens within these companies also can set the website in the wrong direction. So a larger company is going to be a little bit more specific and niche oriented in how they outsource. Smaller and medium-sized companies are going to need more services because they won't have all those folks on hand to provide those services. Now, the key thing with the smaller companies is still that someone needs to be the point person. Someone needs to be the key contact that's going to drive all this. And I think, getting back to what we talked about earlier, that person's going to really be the internet marketing manager. Even if it's the CEO or a high-level manager, they're going to have to be the point person as they outsource quite a few things. And they might even outsource the development of the internet marketing plan itself.
Now, I know there's probably lots of questions swimming in the listeners' heads right now. What does this cost? What's something like this cost for outsourcing? I mean, obviously, everybody knows what it's going to be doing it themselves. I mean, it's time and energy is usually what it is. Or if you're a larger company, it's somebody on payroll. What can somebody expect to pay for some of these different services that they can use for outsourcing? Just so, some numbers, at least people can have an idea of what it may be.
It varies. It varies depending on the amount of research you have to do and how big this plan is going to be. I think that generally to develop a good internet marketing plan, you need to put in your budget on the low end, probably $3,000 to $4,000, and on the high end, probably $5,000 to $6,000. That will get you a decent internet.
Tom, you mentioned some resources that were available for an internet marketing plan. What would those be?
There are a lot of resources out there on the internet. We'll give you a few that are our favorites, and we've seen quite a few come across the table here in the last 6 or 7 years. Web Pro News is a good newsletter to look at. It comes out weekly, and it covers general trends on the internet. Search Engine Watch it does the same thing, specifically with search engines. Google, of course, is a great resource, not just what they have in their own database, but just searching on Google to find newsletters that make sense for you. We have a monthly newsletter that's also a great resource, and they're all archived on our website. Useit.com, Jacob Nielsen's usability website, and the book Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. Those are two excellent resources for you. You'll find a variety of websites out there, and many of them have weekly and monthly newsletters that are free of charge.
Now, we end each podcast with an action item plan. Tom, what key action should our listeners be taking?
Well, on the resource page and on our website, we have the key components of a web marketing plan. Step number 1 is to put together a table of contents for this marketing plan. And that table of contents then is comprised of the things we've talked about in this podcast. The second thing, and this is critical, is to make sure that you've outlined how the internet plays into your current business and marketing plan and what it does for you. And keep in mind that the internet's growth and value to business has just been phenomenal. It's going to continue to be that way. It's pretty much integrated now in our day-to-day business activities. It needs to be integrated in your marketing and business plan. The marketing plan itself should generate a huge action plan. So once you start with the table of contents and you start the integration process, you're going to see that right there you have a massive action plan. But I can tell you from experience that if you do this right and if you get started on it, you'll see excellent returns for your business.
Thank you, Tom. This has been the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. For more information, the podcast resource page, and to see all the available podcasts and much more, visit intuitivewebsites.com.